George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. We've got a new brother in town. Bertram Lawson III is the new president and the CEO of the YMCA of Central New York. Yeah, not of Greater Syracuse, but of Central New York. And he's here to tell us about his vision for the community and what he wants Central New York to know and what he wants Central New York to do. But first, welcome my brother from the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Bert Lawson III. What's up?
What's up, teammate? Nice to see you tonight. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and your audience, and looking forward to answering any questions that come forth.
All right, so let's talk about your background. You came from Philadelphia. You have a long career working with the YMCA. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. So I'm originally from Philadelphia, primarily the state, North Philadelphia. So born and raised there.
All right, freshman. Oh, no, he was from Philadelphia. I got that wrong. Okay.
Yeah, he was. So went to Lincoln University when I went to college, which is in Oxford, Pennsylvania, so historically Black college. Spent majority of my career with the Greater Philadelphia YMCA, from camp counselor to vice president of operation, overseeing all the Ys in the city for 5 years. That would include 6 YMCAs and 1 in the suburban community, and also led our diversity, inclusion, camp, and youth development offices for that association. And then I left Philadelphia, went to the Y in Central Maryland, servicing the greater Baltimore metro area as senior vice president of operations. And then came back to Philadelphia. I actually left the Y. Unfortunately, I decided to leave the Y to pursue an opportunity, challenge myself, and serve as chief operating officer for a charter school network in Philadelphia and Camden, New Jersey, servicing 26 schools, 15,000 students, called Mastery Charter Schools. And then I saw this opportunity to come here to serve as president and CEO of the YMCA of Central New York. Was very excited about it, excited about what's happening in Syracuse and the surrounding area. And it reminded me of Philadelphia, the grit of the city, the grit of the area, and it makes me feel good to be here now.
And you skated on the winter, you know that, right? Because we didn't really have winter. I know they told you about Syracuse winters, but we didn't really have one. I know what you think you saw, but we really didn't have one.
It's all good. Maybe I brought some warmth from the South. It's funny that I would consider myself a Southerner now. So maybe I brought some warmth from the South and kind of altered the weather this winter. Hopefully we can carry that forward.
So what, as president and CEO, obviously the Y has grown over the years. What do you want to do with the Y, and what's your vision for the community, and what should the community know about you, and how can the community support you? So that's 4 questions. That's like a filibuster. You could take them one at a time.
So I would give my, what I would say, the broad vision, and we have to operationalize it. So the broad vision, the way that I see our YMCA is that we will be a significant player amongst the other nonprofits, the for-profits, the universities, and the medical community, and ensuring that Syracuse and the surrounding region is thriving. Now, the YMCA, as a major nonprofit organization, has a platform, has resources, and has experience amongst our staff team where we really can be a true change agent, a true provider of services to the region and the city of Syracuse, and also making sure that we are servicing communities that historically the YMCA has not serviced. That is a key objective of mine, that we are not waiting for people to come to the Y, that we're taking YMCA programming to communities that we have underserved based upon what they're asking for and what they need. And making sure people understand.
Can you say what are some of those communities that are underserved, and what are those communities asking for?
So I'm still learning my geography. So you might have to help me, George, in regards to navigating the city. So if we're looking at the north side, the south side, the west side, I believe,
yes.
If we're looking at those communities, a lot of what's coming up or being said to me is about youth development.
Mm-hmm.
where's the YMCA in regards to youth development, from looking at mentoring programs, career or college exploration programs, how we're supporting the school district in the city, and advancing what young people can experience and be able to be prepared for life. So those are some of the things that bubbled up in regards, and also, activities that will allow them to be in a safe space, whether it's helping them with career training, or summer jobs like lifeguarding, or working in day camp programs. Giving them the opportunity to see that the YMCA is a catalyst for growth, a catalyst for development. But the main thing that I want people to recognize, that the YMCA is a collaborative organization. We're not here to gobble up services or gobble up the people. We're here to collaborate and be a true partner. And from a statewide standpoint, I'm competitive. So there's 48 YMCAs in the state, and I want us to be the top YMCA association in the state. I want our community to feel like their YMCA is servicing them at the high standard, and that we're providing what they need. And from a national standpoint, that we're adding to the YMCA's movement, and that people are attracted to stay working for our Y, come to work for our Y from other places, what I think will contribute to the economic standpoint of the city and region.
Yeah, that was 4-part question. I'll get back to the other 3 in a minute. But Bertram Lawson is the president and CEO of the YMCA of Central New York. And so just following up there, I asked you what you were looking for from the community. How would you like to work collaboratively with other organizations? Because I know that having had a chance to sit with you, you have met like 1 million people in a week. So talk about that, because that's I think that's important for people to know about you. You will take a meeting, and you've taken many of them already.
I started on February 8th, so today is the 24th. So I've been here roughly about 40 days or so, something like that.
Right.
So in that time, I've met with about 40 different community leaders. And it ranges from government to other nonprofits to for-profits. And the reason I'm doing that is, one, I want to understand, where the Y has been beneficial to the community and where we have not been. I want to understand where there's opportunity to collaborate. So if we're talking about youth development, okay, how do we work with the school district? How do we work with other nonprofits, such as the Northside Learning Center, or if we're working with the local universities like Ogden Community College, and how we're doing those things and being really strategic on how we work with these communities, organization, and how we're digging into the local communities from the grassroots standpoint too. Yesterday, I had a great meeting with the members of all the Black fraternities, sororities, the Divine Nine. So I'm very happy that those presidents of those different graduate chapters, and there was one undergraduate chapter, I'm happy to say it was our fraternity young brother from Kappa chapter that came as well, just learning and understand what they're doing and how the Y can be supportive and a partner.
Yeah. So what have you learned? What are some of those learning lessons with meeting with 40 different community leaders, from government to grassroots to community-based? What you learn?
I learned that people are excited about the potential for partnership. That was great. I also learned that the YMCA needs to do a better job in speaking about what we do outside of gym and swim. People need to understand that the Y is more than a gym and swim. We are a charitable organization that's focused on human services and human and programs that elevate people. Right. I learned that there's some gaps. There's gaps in, as I spoke about earlier, youth development. There's gaps in health disparities where the YMCA can play in that space. There's food deserts in our community, but there's a grand opportunity to really bring forth true collaborative programs and initiatives that will get to the people that have not been served. And I think there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that want to do that, and they're hungry for it. And I think it's prime time to do so.
Yeah, you talk about health disparities and things of that nature. I know that the diabetes, the pre-diabetic program and things of that nature, where the Y has had some influence in helping, obviously, particularly diabetes in the African American community, but in other communities as well. And the Y has had programs around supporting health and wellness around those issues to really have an impact on how people can take some steps. You know, fitness is part of that. And oh, by the way, I am a Y member. Thank you. And
Thank you. Thank you.
we've kept our family membership up for many years, you know, but the fact of the matter is how can the Y be more collaborative? And I know that a few years ago, the Y, it may have been last year, no, it was 2 years ago, it was sort of a community needs assessment. And, you know, obviously
Yeah.
with the Y being a central part of the community, but also helping to deal with one of the number one issues in the community, which is poverty, right? And those and in particular in those communities that you mentioned earlier, North Side, West Side, South Side, right? And particularly West Side having the highest concentrations of poverty in Black and Latino individuals per capita in the country. So the Y's role in all of that, and how the Y sees itself playing a pivotal role in the collaborative way.
Well, I would see, just using the West Side as an example, um, the YMCA can be a catalyst, as I mentioned, to change. So on the West Side, we're identifying a partner that can work with that community that's focusing on poverty issues or job readiness issues.
Mhm.
Where the YMCA can come in and play is if we're focusing on, say, a segment of the adult population, right? There might be a childcare issue that might bubble up where those families can't get to the services that are being offered because they have a childcare issue. The YMCA can play in that space and offer childcare at a reduced rate, and then if we can get a grant, free. So focusing on how we bring those types of services to help support another agency that's really hitting on something that the Y may not do well.
Mhm.
We don't do job readiness per
Right.
se, right? But we can support job readiness by
Right.
offering additional services that a job readiness agency can't do, i.e. like childcare.
Mhm. You said moving the Y beyond gym and swim. So let's fast forward. So now, a year from now, what's going on, and how has your footprint taken shape in the community and within the organization? What does it look like? I know that one of the big things happening in our community right now is DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that look like in the Y? What are some of the things that you see? Let's fast forward to a year from now, and what's going to be in place, and how does it look? What are you looking for?
Well, I would say by March of 2022, what I would envision being in place is that the YMCA has three significant partnerships that we are focusing on, that's targeting the communities that I've talked about. So we can look at the West Side, the North Side, and the South Side.
Mhm.
And the programming, I can't say what that could be right now because we still have to assess what the community wants and who those partners should be. But we would have three significant partnerships in those areas. We would have a YMCA Without Walls program going on in those areas. We will be supporting the community and helping people to get back and rebound from COVID-19
Yeah.
by years' time. And from a standpoint of DEI, diversity, inclusion, and equity, we're looking at where the Y plays in the spaces. We're looking at commencing a standing committee of the board. It hasn't been approved yet or solidified yet, but we're talking about establishing a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee at the board level, the board of director level, where the YMCA is looking at internally how we are bringing on new board members and looking at people of color, how we're looking at staff, and how we're bringing on staff of color, and also how we're looking at policy and procedures that can negatively affect us from doing so and reversing those, and how we are attracting communities. And when I say underserved, I'm not talking about just Black and brown people. I'm talking about people that may be impoverished, people that may have an invisible barrier, transportation, or maybe a safety issue, how we're looking at those things and how we're engaging those communities.
People don't realize that the Y does offer opportunities for people at all economic levels to participate and use the services of the Y. that may not be as well known to people.
Right. Yeah. That right there is part of changing the narrative of we're not just a gym and swim. We can adjust and make sure that every person who wants to be a Y member can be a Y member. As I mentioned, we're a charitable organization. We ask people to donate to the Y. We ask people to donate to the YMCA so we can get people who cannot afford our normal fees opportunities to get Y services, so we can create programs and initiatives in different areas where people are benefiting that traditionally didn't see the YMCA as an option. That makes us a charitable organization, and that we're accessible to all. For all is supposed to mean that in the Y's mission, for all.
When you think about Central New York and the community, what do you see that we don't see?
What I see is that the community, let me back up. What attracted me to come here was the grittiness, as I mentioned, but I've seen Syracuse and its surrounding region doing some amazing things that people know about, but is not as broadly spoken about right now. But I see this trajectory of this community being a very robust, vibrant city and region in this state that's comparable. I mean, New York is huge. New York City is huge, but comparable to what New York City might be doing. I think this region can outdo Albany, Rochester, and Buffalo. That's my competitive nature. I see, bringing in companies and organizations that will bring jobs to this region where people can get back to working at a higher capacity, get back to having those discretionary funds to do the things that they want to do with their families. I see that happening, and I see a landscape that's been paved for that to happen, that maybe those who've been here for a good portion of their life or grown up here, they may not see. And maybe I could be pie in the sky, but I also seen that happen in Philadelphia. I've seen it happen in Baltimore. I've seen it happen in New York City. I've seen it happen in numerous cities across the country where they were at one place and they moved to another place and then they skyrocketed. But the great thing is I think we can learn from that as a community, what they did wrong and also what they did well, so we don't repeat their mistakes and then everyone feels as though they're part of the equation.
Mentoring certainly is an important part of youth development. How do you see that playing out in what you want to see happen for the Y?
There's a great program, national program the Y has. It originally was called Black Achievers. Started back in 1967 in Houston, Texas by this gentleman named Eric Christmas, YMCA legend. That program still exists. We call it Y Achievers. We don't have that here. What I'm looking at is bringing that as our signature program for youth development. It's a program focused for 5th through 12th graders around career, college, and trade exploration, looking at what careers they want to go into, what colleges they may be interested in, but also if they're interested in trade. That program right there really connects young people to spaces and places they may not be familiar with, but it also connects the universities, for-profits, and others with young people that they would never probably think about talking to or touching in regards to exposing them to what the options may exist in this region. So those young people can grow, go off to some of our local universities and colleges, come back, work in this region, and contribute back to the economic standing of Syracuse and the county.
We look forward to seeing that. What's the likelihood that that'll happen within a year?
That likelihood is strong.
I hear that.
That's strong because I'm getting very good feedback from community leaders about that portion of youth development. So I believe there's strong partners that will be brought to the table, and I believe there's funding that will be available to do so.
What do you need from the community?
What I need from the community is an opportunity to see the Y in a different light. And what I mean by that is, don't think about this YMCA association as what it once was. Think about that we have a strong foundation and we're looking at how we come out of COVID and rebound ourselves and what we will look like for the people. I don't want you to see us as a gym and swim. I want you to see us as a full-scale service organization that's focused on impacting people. And that can mean all types of things, but giving us an opportunity to show you what this YMCA association will be.
Now, the Downtown Y, great old facility. What's up?
Yeah, my office is in this great old 1903 facility.
Yes.
It's about 180,000 square feet of facility.
Yes.
We got some work to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We have work to do. I know I've heard this from community people. I heard this from my staff. I've heard this from board members. We don't look the same down here as we look like in some of our suburban locations. I understand that. I need some time to wrap my head around how we're gonna move forward, because if you can imagine, it's a 1903 building, so the cost to renovate this building is astronomical. But I think you eat an elephant piece by piece, chunk by chunk. So that's the approach I'm taking, and looking at who can support us in that effort. So I'm not shying away from that.
How does COVID affect the Y, and how are you moving as we begin to open up more and people become vaccinated, and more people are becoming vaccinated in our community are becoming vaccinated? How do you see the Y responding or coming out of that?
Well, right now we're restricted to 33% occupancy by the state regulations, which we understand. We're hoping that the state starts to loosen that up the same way they did with the restaurant industry. We're looking at how we can get back to 50% and then more in a safe manner. We're looking at how we can get back to pre-COVID standards. We lost members, we lost revenue, but that's not, to me, the most important thing. We lost staff. We lost people, which means people lost their jobs. And some people had to be furloughed because of how COVID has ravaged the community, which means that there's people out there that aren't employed. And I'm looking at how we get them back employed, how we get people back to their routine, but also how they learn and get to enjoy the new services that will be forthcoming. So I have my senior VPs of operations, my vice presidents of operations, working on Project Rebound. It's a phased project of how we get back to bringing a Y to pre-COVID standards and beyond. Looking at our hours, looking at our capacity, looking at programs and services that we can bring forth that truly connects to the community.
Tell us a little personal thing about you. What have you found to eat here in the Q's? What are your hobbies? What have you read lately? And what's your favorite listening music? And that'll be that.
Well, I'll start with the listening music. I'm a hip hop kid, so I'm born in '75, but grew up in the really in the mid '80s. I would say around 10, and got into hip hop in middle school. So I'm a hip hop kid. I listen to old school rap, some of the new age stuff that's a little interesting. I'm an R&B guy, jazz, reggae. So I have a good variety because of my parents. Hobbies, I enjoy driving. So I don't drive as much because I where I live at now, so I don't have to drive as much. But that refreshes me and allows me to kind of decompress. From reading, I read a lot of Harvard reviews. I'm a nerd at the end of the day. I read a lot of Harvard reviews around growth and culture and how that helps our staff. But also I've been reading a lot around some DEI stuff and how that plays out. And from an eating perspective, I've spent, I don't know how much time at the Salt City Market. Spent a lot of time over there. I spent some time at Lemongrass downtown. I need to explore more of the neighborhood eateries and restaurants. So I'm looking to do that more. And the funky, I think it's
Funkin' Waffles.
Funkin' Waffles. I've been there, so I've had that. So I've been to Dinosaur Barbecue as well, to experience that. So I'm navigating, but I'm not trying to put on too much weight.
Yeah. Or you be on that treadmill. Hey, listen, for your drives, you know, in the summer, spectacular country around here, and you will really, and then we got wine country just down the road. So you're going to enjoy that. That's going to be cool. All right, Bertram Lawson III. He is the president and CEO of the YMCA of Central New York. More to come. We'll be checking in with this brother from time to time, but Bertram, we thank you for spending some time with us and for the community to get to know a little bit about you and your vision for the community.
Appreciate you, George. Thank you for the time.
Inspiration for the nation. Rue.